Well, whenever YouTube makes an announcement about a feature getting deprecated or is discontinued or whatever D word you want to use, creators get different levels of upset or annoyed or infuriated. But today we're talking about the deprecation of Revert to Original that was announced a week ago on the Creator Insider channel. Now, I talked a little bit about this on my live stream last Saturday, but what we find is also now on the Creator Insider channel this week, they did a follow-up and they made a few notable points. So it's going to play a clip for you to listen to, and then we're going to talk about it.
To begin, let's chat about the Revert to Original feature. The team has been reading all your feedback and knows the removal is not ideal. The team shared that the feature had a high level of abuse, which was the primary reason for the decision to remove the feature. They needed to safeguard our systems against this. It's worth noting that this feature was introduced when the studio editor was not very reliable, and in the past months, the team has significantly improved the reliability and quality of the preview feature. Beginning in June 2025, you'll want to make sure you review your videos and are satisfied with your edits before saving. The team also recommends you save a copy of your video before editing to use as a backup. We'll keep you posted if we have more information to share.
So let's go through what Lauren shared with us on Creator Insider. So basically what's happening is they're removing the Revert to Original option in the YouTube editor. So don't forget that everything else is in there, like the blur, the trim and everything. That's all staying in there. They're just removing the ability to revert back to the original video. So after you've made any type of edits, trim, blur, all those different tools that we mentioned, creators will no longer have the ability, as of June 2025, to revert to original. They won't be able to undo a change that they made. So in that sense, or a save change, you should say. So they're phasing it out, they're deprecating it. They did give some explanation. It's a vague explanation, but let's go through the reason that they gave. So they're citing two things. The first thing is that the feature was being abused. We don't know exactly how it's been abused. They're not explaining how it's been abused. And usually when it comes to any type of abuse on the platform, they hold their cards close to their chest. They don't want to put too much information out there, lest more people try and take advantage of whatever it is that they might be trying to do. So that is one thing. The other thing that they sort of alluded to is that the feature, there's some technical issues that they've had with it, some limitations. They didn't really focus on this part of the explanation too much either, but just to let you know that they were having some issues with the whole editor in how it was originally created and the technology. So overall, they're phasing it out. So what can you do if you actually use this feature? Now, to be honest, I don't think I've ever used the Revert to Original part. I have used the editor a couple of times to do some blurring or to do some minor trimming. I don't use the trim on a major level or anything like that where I'm removing introductions and stuff. I'm like, well, you know, if I stuff up a video, then I'm going to live with my mistake and learn from it, see what data I can get from it anyway, and move on. So I don't tend to try and manipulate my video to try and encourage up some views. So I don't try and do any of that. So I've never really used the Revert to Video feature. Now what I've done, just before I started recording this video, I dropped a poll in my community posts to see, out of my community at least, who use it on a regular basis. Maybe some people used it occasionally, maybe people never used it at all, which is sort of technically where I come in, is where I've never really used the feature. But you know, I was unhappy that they were removing it for no real valid reason given. Now they've given a little bit more reason. Last week I surmised that the reason could have been based on something that Team YouTube posted in response on threads and Twitter about the abuse part. The only way I could see it being abused was when it came to privacy complaints, where YouTube would give you that privacy complaint and say, hey, there's a privacy complaint on your video, this particular video. We're going to give you the opportunity to remove the parts that are breaching the privacy. They tend to tell you where it is. And so then you can blur it or trim it or whatever you need to do to remove it. And then once it's done, that's locked in, and then the video has been edited, the privacy concerns are no longer there. YouTube allows you to keep your video up because you've dealt with the privacy concerns. Now, with the revert to original button being ever present in the past, what that could have done is revert back to the original state before you remove somebody's personal details or their likeness or whatever the privacy complaint was about. And so I could see that being misused by somebody who has deliberately put that private information in their videos to try to dox or embarrass or somebody's information by putting it out in the public without like blurring out the phone number or the address or whatever it is, where there's a genuine privacy concern. And if you're able to revert the video, then maybe the person sees that you've made the change, so they're happy, the privacy complaint's been finalized, YouTube's happy, they're happy. All parties forget about it except for the creator, who, if they are a bad actor, could revert that video and display those changes, those private information once more. And the onus would then be on that person to discover the fact that you've revealed it again, and then they have to go after you again with another privacy complaint. That's the only thing that I could think of at the time. Now, there are a couple of other things that have been shared with me since then. I know I was having a conversation on X in DMs. Let me just have a look at it. The other thing that was suggested was maybe YouTube considers that when people were heavily editing their hooks using the trim tool, and maybe reverting it back and then trimming it differently and just trying to manipulate the response from the viewers based on the changes that they made to the video by reverting, unreverting, reverting, unreverting. Maybe that's putting a lot of taxing their resources a lot in that regard, and the editor wasn't really built for that sort of process. That could be a thing. I wouldn't call that being bad actors or being abused, unless YouTube tends to see it that way. But it's possible that that's what it is. I wouldn't consider that, but I know one example that was given which sounds fairly valid, was that, say you were doing a series and this is the first video in the series. At the end of the video, you want to throw people to the second video, but you haven't made the second video yet. So when you initially publish it, you trim that end off, and now you make your the next video and it's available. So now you want to send people that way. So then you revert to the original where you have that ending. That is the other thing that I see, but I don't see that. I don't consider that an abuse. I consider that's very clever use of the tools that have been provided to you by YouTube. So if that's the case, well, we'll see. All well and good. So they're the things that have basically been shared with me by various people as possibly what they might be talking about. We don't know 100% for sure what this abuse looks like, and we probably never will. So at this point, it looks like we're resigned to the fact that YouTube is going to be deprecating this. They heard the feedback, but they're still going ahead. So there's obviously a technical limitation or something, or the abuse is greater than the inconvenience to creators at this point in YouTube's consideration. That's all I could think of right now about that. And that's probably one way to look at it. So it's like, I wasn't happy with it either, but hey, it's one of those things. Yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments about that, and we'll see what YouTube ends up doing in June when they deprecate it fully. Well, this is Doug, and I'll catch you later.